Hi everybody, welcome back. I'm Andrew Navarro, joined by now Team Covenant's Zach Bunn.
That's me.
How you doing, Zach?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to see this final match of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest.
Were you in the grinder back here with Robert?
Yes, I was back here in the grinder with Robert.
How was that time? How was that experience for you?
It was excellent. I had a great time with Robert. We had a lot of fun. It was a great match. They played it out to the end, even when the odds were stacked against the Dark Eldar player. They played it out. They finished it. But I think it was a pretty decisive victory for Davis and the Space Marines, for Cato Sicarius. So now we have two Space Marine lists. We have Space Marine versus Space Marine, Davis versus Jeremy for the final match. And we had I believe we had a Space Marine versus Space Marine match yesterday, and that was also very good. So,
well, I know that we have Jeremy Zwirn, who won the Gen Con World Eater tournament.
He did
with Space Marines.
Yes.
So now we have Space Marines back in the finals, both ways. So a Space Marine is going to win the finals.
A Space Marine is going to, yes. If that makes you sad or happy, it's a matter of fact.
I kind of feel neutral about it. Of all the factions, Space Marines are the ones that I still feel neutral about. They don't excite me, or I don't not like them. So,
yeah, I like Space Marines. I think they're strong. I think they're pretty fun to play, and they're relatively easy to play. In that, I think, they have, as I mentioned before, they have a lot of really hard hitting units with a lot of high hit points. So it allows for some margin of error. They have some really good damage canceling ability. Cato Sicarius has the amazing ability to generate resources as he kills guys, or as units die at the planet where he's present. It just makes for a pretty nice, easy, plain experience. Like, you do have to play tactically, obviously, because there's a lot of thinking to do into how the board plays out. But like playing your units, I think a lot of the choices that come off the deck, they kind of get made for you with the Space Marines.
Yeah, I mean they're not trying to do anything too tricky.
No,
right? Like they're not trying to save resources to play insane things that just swing the tide as much as they're just being good at the game.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they're good at going out there and just killing things.
The Space Marine way, really.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why I think I'm very happy with the idea that the Space Marines are the most accessible faction out of the box, because I think that's true about the miniatures game as well. I think, if you want to get into Warhammer 40,000 and don't really know how to play, like Space Marines is a relatively safe bet.
That's where you start.
Yeah.
So going into this, obviously we have the finals of the first ever World Championship for Conquest. We have the World Eater tournament winner Jeremy Zwirn here versus Davis K. Do you have any predictions on who you think is going to win here?
I have to go with Jeremy, just because he's so good. I mean, he already won the Cthulhu World Championship a couple days ago. Like you said, he won the World Eater Championship tournament during Gen Con. He is a former Netrunner World Champion.
He's played a few games.
He's very good at LCGs. So I think it's hard to bet against him, but who knows? I think Davis played a really great game in the last match, and I think, like Space Marines versus Space Marines, there aren't going to be a lot of tricks. It's going to be who plays the game best.
Which is really what you want when you're coming down into a finals like this.
So I was looking at those first first 5 revealed planets there. Looking at the board, it looks like it's going to play out to be a relatively long game, and it's looking like the earliest the game could potentially end is on the 5th planet. So
that is crazy.
Be grinding it out.
That's really what we want to see here. Now, I mean, it could end earlier, right? Because you could kill your opponent's warlord.
That's true, but that's pretty rare, and I just like players that are this good. I just don't see it happening, honestly. I think it would. The only times that, in my experience playing the game, where I've had the opportunity to kill a warlord, it just kind of mistakenly fell into my lap. I've never really attempted that as a main strategy, or as he's bloody, now I'm going to go get him. It's just usually a better idea just to take the planets and win the game.
Yeah, I mean that definitely is the primary win condition, but that's something you have to consider when you can't win till Planet 5. And if you don't win Planet 2 here, it's going to be a long time for you. When that first planet being green only is pretty rough because the next green is planet 5. So it's almost a useless planet. Obviously, someone's going to get 2 resources from it if they win the battle, or if they win the command struggle there. But it's not one you want to invest heavily into. Start out front, and the battle trigger off of it, where you get to take a resource from your opponent, could also be a major factor in denying your opponent resources. But I can't see either player spending too many resources on that first planet.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, it's hard to say. Like I think the danger, and this has happened in a game that I've played, where both players are like, I'm not really too concerned about that first planet, and then no one claims with the first planet.
Yep.
And then no one gets it and goes away forever, which is a thing that can happen. But you know, a game with players this good, it's already going to be a long game. It might be nice to have that one green icon in the bank.
Yeah,
just in
you
case.
never know. I
Just
mean,
in
it could
case.
easily go to planet 6, which could have a green icon. And if you win the first planet, your opponent may not care about that 6th planet so much, but have to defend it anyway. And that's something really huge in this game about winning these planets, where you force your opponent to have to invest into a planet, even though it's not in their favor, or maybe they don't want it at all. Like, they may not need green at all, but they have to prevent you from getting it. Looks like Davis is the first player here, and he's going to play a unit on the first planet.
Yep, he's doing it. He's flying in the face of our analysis and putting a unit at the first planet.
Looks like Jeremy's dropping a Void Pirate out planet 5. Not a horrible idea. Love those units. 1 cost. Your opponent's got to have something to do. Looks like we got a big unit coming in here. Maybe not so big.
Yeah, it's not so big. I mean, I would say he's about average size for a Space Marine unit.
Yeah, I didn't see him spend so many resources on that first unit. I thought the first unit was a 1, and then turns out it was not. I just saw him move resources, and there was only 2 left, so I assumed something huge was coming down.
Well, the Blood Angels are pretty good. They have a pretty great ability about while they are ready, when they're assigned damage, they only take 1 point of damage.
That seems okay.
Yeah, it's not bad.
And the deployment here, it's very interesting in this game, right? So you basically go back and forth until both players pass, but once you do pass, you're done. You're done for the turn.
Yes.
So it's really important, especially on this opening, and as the game continues to go on, to have lower cost things that you can put into play to kind of wait to put down units until your opponent has spent all the resources or passed. Once they pass, it's open season, right?
Right.
They pass, and then it's all of a sudden, I know he can't put another guy here, so I can put a Void Pirate on this planet, or I can commit extra here. Very, very interesting part of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why I like the reducers, the cost reducers of this game so much, is that so they cost 1 to put into play, and then you can exhaust them to reduce the cost of a unit by 1.
So they don't really cost you anything.
They don't cost you anything, and they let you stall.
Yeah, they let you not take an action.
Exactly.
I will say here, looks like the planets of interest here. Obviously, planet 2 and 3 is something you're going to fight over because both planets are going to need them to win. But I think more importantly than anything, resources versus cards here, right? I think early game, cards are really the primary thing both players are after. That's how you get to your tricks. That's how you get your shields. That's how you get options on the unit play on the next turn. Mm-hmm. Resources are important, and they're required to do things in the game. But if you can deny your opponent cards, each player is going to get 2 cards and 4 resources at the end of each turn. Cards seem to hold a lot more weight, so I'm going to be curious to really watch, I guess, the master at work here, Jeremy, and Davis. Both these players phenomenal to get to this point. It was a very large tournament, a grueling day, and they're both investing resources into the card draw planets.
All right, so they're committing their warlords. It's like we have an alternate art Sicarius. This is pretty awesome.
Looking pretty good.
Going to planet 4, and then Davis going to planet 3.
We have the command struggle here, which I've been calling the hammer dance, by the way.
That's pretty good.
Andrew liked that one, yeah. It looks like Jeremy is going to give Davis that first planet unless something changes, which it easily could. And this is going to be interesting. So mobile on that unit, he's going to get to move it at the beginning of conflict, which is going to work in his favor. And this is a really interesting exchange. I don't think Jeremy's going to have any actions here, so Davis will get that first planet. He's going to trigger the battle, steal a resource from Jeremy, and he's got himself a green planet. Not so bad.
No, not terrible. I mean, didn't have to spend very much to get it at all, so I don't think you can complain.
Yeah, and you know, I want to note here about the short and long-term impact on some of these decisions. Davis is winning that third planet there, getting to trigger the battle ability, which is good, but Jeremy is forcing a battle on that Void Pirate out at planet, I guess, 4. The first planet's gone, so it's hard to tell. But he gets to keep his Void Pirate, he's getting rid of his opponents, and he's basically getting resources at the same time. So he's going to have a lot more units on the table at the end of this round.
Well, kind of offsetting that a little bit on Planet 3, you know, he got the 2 cards from winning the command struggle there. So,
sure.
I think he kind of mitigates a little bit, but yeah, I mean, he's
getting cards
he's gonna
now.
He's going to be toast later on.
But
for
in
sure.
a turn or two, he's going to be
Exactly.
hurting a little bit. So Jeremy denied a card from the Void Pirate by winning that planet, got 2 resources, and is going to kill the Void Pirate unless, barring some unforeseen circumstance.
Oh,
yeah, there it goes.
Yeah, so he did it. Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. So he denied the card now, and then denied any future cards he may have gotten
from the
down
Void
the road.
Pirate, yeah. So how are you feeling after Planet 1? Who do you think has the advantage here?
Well, I think Jeremy clearly has the advantage because he still has guys on the board.
He does have guys on the board. Now Davis has guys in HQ over there, but I would agree. I think Jeremy's got the positioning right now. And again, another huge factor of this game is first player. So Jeremy's going to be first player on the second planet, which is a much more important planet, having both the red and the blue, which means whoever wins this can win either of the next 2 planets and then the 4th planet and win the game. So I would put the stock on this planet pretty high. Going first is going to be huge. You get the first action, you get the first attack. Pretty important here.
Yeah, and particularly in this instance where that unit on the first planet has the area of effect ability, which when a unit exhausts to attack, it can instead of doing its normal attack value, can do its area of effect damage, and that pings every single enemy unit at that planet. Really important to have that when you have initiative. It's extremely powerful.
Yeah, area of effect is, I don't know if you can call it the most important keyword in the game or the most important ability, but it ranks pretty high up there. In particular, on in a handful of matches, anytime your opponent is playing a lot of the tokens or a lot of guys, cheap guys, I think AOE is so important to have, which is probably a big reason both these players are here.
Yeah, interestingly enough, area effect did not come into play at all in the last match. But ranged sure did, which is what we're about to see right here with this marksman.
Yet another awesome keyword.
Yeah, I was going to say ranged is probably what I would, if you were going to rank area effect number 1, I would say ranged number 2. Or, or brutal. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of brutal guys left because all the chaos players fell by the wayside, but brutal in the right instances can be just that, brutal.
All right, we have the jockeying back and forth here, deciding which units to play in what order, what to save. I see a couple shields in Jeremy's hand. Shields, by the way, maybe the most important thing of all. A well-timed shield can literally change the course of the game. Looks like Davis has a couple shields too.
So we saw this play from Davis in the last game, putting the ion rifle on his marksman there, giving him 4 attack with ranged, setting up for his next turn when he has initiative.
4 attack with range is insanely good.
It is. It is. If only that marksman were a little more hardy.
That's what shields are for, right?
Right.
I think my favorite part of the game, as far as the flow goes, is this sense of impending either success or failure, right? Like you're moving across the galaxy, across the planets, one by one, and someone is going to win the game in a certain amount of turns, period. It's one of the things that really draws me to Star Wars as well, where you have the dial ticking or the objective being blown up. But it is very apparent in this game that, because there's only 7 planets, and win or lose by 7, it's over.
Right.
So that can be something really tough to wrap your mind around.
Yeah, and I mentioned this during the last match. the game is on from the beginning. Like
Absolutely.
You immediately need to pay attention. You immediately need to start doing your business. There's no time to, as Robert was saying, no time to turtle up and prepare. You have to go out there and plan for getting those planets and make your strategy for how you're going to win with what you see in front of you. It is a great part of the game because you know that the game is going to last 7 rounds at the most.
At max, right?
Exactly.
Man, I really can't stress the importance of this first planet, and I cannot help but feeling Jeremy with initiative is just going to snag it.
Yeah, I think Davis is just kind of like taking a cue from Jeremy there and not really sweating that first planet a whole lot, and just going to hang on at planet 2 and make sure that Jeremy needs to get a red icon instead of a blue to shore up his score area.
Yeah, and I want to restate, I think the importance here of Planet 2 is still card draw. So Jeremy probably has the advantage in snagging that first planet, and he definitely does. But Davis is still going to have card draw from Planet 2, which is something Jeremy's not getting a whole bunch of right now.
Right. Excuse me. Right now on Planet 2, it's a wash because veteran Brother Maxos has two command icons, so Davis isn't benefiting from that right now either. Though he is getting the card draw on Planet 5.
At the moment.
At the moment.
Until the Warlord joins the party.
You think a Warlord is going to go over there and disrupt that?
I mean, it can be a really strong play, right? Like, you get the cards and you force a battle to happen on that planet where your opponent might not be as well provisioned.
Yeah, and he certainly does not need to send his Warlord to the first planet, so really he's kind of spoiled for choice. He can send him wherever he wants. Absolutely.
Whichever planet he feels is most important. And, you know, the battle abilities really do come into play here.
Yeah, there you go. It's Planet 5.
There it is.
As predicted.
As predicted here first. Yeah, and Davis is loading up on Planet 2. Again, the positioning here, when a unit moves from HQ to the planet, it has to, I want to say exhaust.
It's right.
Kneel, tap.
Yeah, not kneel. Or tap.
Whatever you want to call
exhaust,
it.
Correct.
In Star Wars Focus, but it has to exhaust. So he's going to have a lot of ready units on Planet 2. I think he's planning on definitely winning that planet, and we'll see how it works out. He's definitely going to have the advantage to grab that blue planet.
It feels like overkill though with all those units, and I don't see that the planet that moves a unit to another planet is not on the board. So
I'm sort of surprised he didn't go to Planet 3 here. He may have thought Jeremy was going to Planet 2 with his Warlord. Like that may have been why he was reinforcing it.
I don't know why he'd do that though. So yeah, but you're right. He may have.
He put it on a planet when he knew Jeremy was going to win a battle to do damage to everything at an adjacent planet.
Yeah, so, that's tough. Like I feel like maybe that was a misplay there.
For sure, and you know, it's tough. It's tough to see what he's seen and what he's got in his hand. But I think I would have preferred Planet 3 there, get ready for that fight, and kind of spread your units across the board.
Yeah,
especially with so much mobile on the board.
Well, you know, at the very least, like he clearly had in mind that he was going to surrender that first planet, and he just needed to read the battle ability to know that he's probably going to get a damage on all of his guys on that second planet.
Which he could be 100% okay with.
Yeah, maybe. It looks like he took care of Maxos.
Going to trigger the battle ability here.
All right, well, I think that's a clear choice. He's got to take Sicarius' Chosen. No, he's not. He's going to take
an unclear choice. Apparently,
I don't know. I don't know about that choice.
What did he grab?
He grabbed.
Do you know?
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
He grabbed one of the Tau cards, the Earthcast Technician, and he's going to use that. So when that comes into play. He's going to try to search for an attachment. I'm not sure what he's going to get with it.
They have some good attachments. Looks like Jeremy wins the planet, gets to discard a card at random.
Maybe another ion rifle. But man, I don't know. The Sicarius' Chosen it's so good, it's so powerful, and especially when you might want to try to manipulate the board to move some units around. I just feel like that would have been the better play.
All right, so we're seeing the final planet here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he drew into an ion rifle, so maybe he might be kicking himself right now. I would be. I'm kicking himself for me.
You're kicking yourself for him?
Right.
I don't know how that works, but let's just say I approve. All right. Planets are known. So we even have some greens later on. We have a lot of greens later on. That's something you should expect once you see the first 5. How many are left?
And if if it plays out that way, maybe it'll be helpful that Davis has that, like I mentioned, has that one in the bank.
Davis could have also been looking for low-cost units to be able to play to stall, to make Jeremy have to play his hand out first. He may already have exactly in his hand what he's planning on doing with his resources.
Well, that Earth Task Technician is attachment specific. It has to be an attachment.
Well, when he grabbed that instead of the Sicarius.
Oh, yeah. Just like I need a guy, I need a body.
I need a cheap thing to play.
Entirely possible.
Because, if you already know what you're doing with all your resources.
Yeah. Pretty big resource disparity right now as well. You can see Jeremy's got 9 to Davis's 4.
Yeah, Davis does have a lot of guys on the board at this point, though, compared to Jeremy. At least on the board and at a planet.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take on the mobile keyword? How important is that in your Conquest experience?
In my experience, it has not really been much of a factor, honestly. There is a unit that the Eldar have that is like mobile, but it can be triggered during combat.
That seems better.
And it's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. Mobile is its own thing, right? And it's got to be accounted for when you're costing the unit. And what I tend to find is that mobile that's all the unit does. Is moves, which is fine.
Right.
But if you had something with like an AOE also with mobile, that becomes immensely more important. Being able to move that guy to a different planet, but it's sometimes useful, sometimes not so useful.
Yeah, I think it's mostly intended, at least the way I kind of see it, is mostly intended as kind of a defensive maneuver. Where
sure.
if you
things
just really,
go bad,
well, if you really you're deploying to a planet, you really just want to make sure you keep that unit around. If it looks like you deploy that unit for to gather resources or draw cards, and you just don't want to lose it, and it looks like they're probably going to bite it in combat if they stick around, then move it.
And it's a pretty safe bet to put early on in the game and early on in the deployment phase, to put a mobile unit down, because if things do go bad, you can get them out of dodge.
Right.
All right, let's see if Jeremy can use this resource disparity to do something like win the World Championship. Man, he also won Cthulhu this weekend, right?
Yeah.
This man is a monster.
Ago. Exactly.
I'm glad he doesn't play Star Wars. See a Void Pirate in his hand. I wish I could know exactly what was in his hand.
Yeah, that'd be great.
This feels like one of those moments. This feels like one of those moments where you have a whole bunch of resources and all you have are little nothing guys to do with them.
Oh, there we get a shot there. So we've got a Void Pirate. It's not really teasing us. See some shields in there.
I see some shields, but those aren't dudes.
Yeah, there's at least one neutral event, but yeah, looks like a promotion.
Now, Jeremy. Certainly, I would be surprised to see him go for the first planet here. He does not have initiative. He doesn't have units there. And he doesn't need that planet to win.
No,
If he gives this planet to his opponent's first win condition is the last planet. With giving him a blue, right?
Right.
Because he has a green.
Right.
If he gets a blue, he's going to have to win the next 2 planets he would have initiative on, which is curious, by the way. That's worth noting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's something that makes me feel as though Jeremy has this in the palm of his hand right now. Like, I think he's in a great position, just in the way that the planets have played out and the way the initiative is passing back and forth. Like, when we go to the second planet, he'll have initiative again, and I think he'll be in a great position to capture that planet, especially with his AOE command squad there. Yeah, I would expect Jeremy to go to Planet 2 and just let Planet 1 go, but I don't know.
Really seal up that planet. So, looking at it though, if Jeremy, let's say Davis wins the first planet, Jeremy wins the second planet. That still means that that third planet where Davis is going to have initiative is where all the marbles are going to come down to. Right?
Yes.
That's where Jeremy can win. Jeremy can't win on the green planet, and then Jeremy would be able to win on the final planet. So we could have a heater here going to that last planet if something goes weird.
Yeah, I feel like it. I get the feeling just the way that this is the tempo that they're claiming those planets, that they're kind of willing to let them go back and forth between each other, and it is definitely shaping up to be a long game that's going to be decided in the last couple planets.
Yeah, and I mean, part of that is just because the 3 of the 4 first planets have a single icon, so it's going to be a long game, right? I'm going to be really curious, and you get a little bit into the game theory, where I think Jeremy is really going to focus. You think Jeremy might think Davis is going to focus on the third planet here, not this turn, but he has initiative 2 planets from now.
Right.
So he's going to next turn maybe send all his guys there and prepare. But Jeremy, knowing that, may not need to feel the need to reinforce the first planet and sends all of his guys there, and then you actually have a crazy battle. So I'll be curious to see if either of them kind of buck that trend. It would seem that Davis wins the first planet, Jeremy wins the second planet, and then they battle it out on the third. I'm not sure that favors Jeremy, though.
Yeah, I would agree, because the initiative's in the wrong spot. So you're right.
The initiative's in the wrong spot, and then the next turn, Davis can send all of his guys to the third planet. So I think that's really what Jeremy's going to have to consider here. He doesn't have to win the second planet here. It really is not as meaningful as it might feel. The third planet is the planet to win. If he gave Davis the next 2 planets, Davis is no closer to winning.
That's true. That's true.
So while the second planet might be somewhat relevant to Jeremy, it's not relevant at all to Davis.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that the battle abilities on the planets that are on the board right now, not super impactful. I would say the biggest one's on planet 3, which allows both players to put a planet. I keep saying planet instead of unit. Put a planet.
Put a planet into play. Man, that'd be a game.
Yeah,
planets
v planets.
Yeah. That'd be wild.
Allows you to put a unit into play from your hand in HQ, but that triggers for both players. To me, right now, that's the biggest ability on the board. And then on the 5th planet, there's also that planet allows you to move a unit you control to another planet. That's also relatively significant. The other ones, I don't think they're super important at this point.
I'm really excited to see what Jeremy puts on the board here. Davis right now, if you just look at what's on the table, I think he's in a really great position. Jeremy has resources and can play guys, but I don't see anything super expensive in his hand. Like, look at that. Like, he needs a heat right now. You know what I mean? He's got a lot of command icons, and he can win some planets here. 4th planet is particularly going to be good for card draw. I don't see Davis's Warlord going to the 4th planet, which Jeremy might need. He made us save his resources and go for card draw.
Well, clearly Jeremy is considering a lot right here, because I think it's his play right now.
This is kind of the turn. It really is. Things are either going to go really right for you from here on or really wrong. I just don't see a middle ground. I would love to get inside his head right now. You know what I mean? Like, he's got like 5-6 cards in his hand and 8 resources. There's only so many cards to play, and you have 5 choices of where to put them.
Well, I mean, he's got good units too. That's what I wonder if he's just kind of puzzling over where he wants to put the Honored Librarian, or if he wants to tip his hand that he has it right now.
Really interesting stuff.
Or
this is crazy.
Or if he's just hoping that maybe he'll draw. I don't know. I didn't notice that does he have an Exterminatus in his hand? He's not fanning his cards out very much, so it's really hard to see.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I'm not seeing the art.
So I mean, I don't know if he's. There he goes. Honored Librarian out.
Man, how good would Exterminatus be right here?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was wondering, like, is maybe he's just waiting and doesn't want to deploy too many guys out because he
could also draw Exterminatus.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, hoping to draw it, and then take Davis unawares.
That's the best way to take your opponent, by the way.
Unawares.
Unawares. I love the use of that word.
I don't think I've said the word unawares in my life until this moment.
So drawing into Exterminatus here would be big. It's deploy only, so you're not going to be able to play it after you draw it.
Right.
But Jeremy can totally just give up the first planet next turn if he wants to. And I think they're both going to be looking at that third planet. So if Davis chooses to move all the guys who are currently on the first planet, if he wins that planet, they go home. If he moves those to the what is right now the third planet, and then there's an Exterminatus, that's an extremely risky play.
Yeah, and I think he'd have to be aware of that also, and then I think that would probably
grouping your units up that strongly.
Yeah, I think that would probably influence his decision to the point where he would not do that. I guess we'll see how things shake out. This is
the turn.
There is a lot of thinking going on right now. A lot of thinking between these two players.
He's thinking so hard about this.
I know. Well,
it's worth doing. I mean, you're in the World Championship Finals.
Yeah.
If you're going to take your time, this is untimed. They're just playing it out. Don't make a silly mistake here. That's the worst thing you could do. You'll regret it for years and years and years to come when you didn't get to design the first card.
Yeah, and like just the amount of time that Jeremy's taking with these decisions, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, clearly he also believes this is the turn.
Yeah.
Because the pace of his play has slowed down considerably after those first couple planets.
I almost think if I'm Jeremy, seeing that the first two planets do nothing for my opponent, I almost start planning for the long haul. Like, I'm going to get the cards and resources on planets 3, 4, and 5 and put my guys on those planets so that it's impossible for my opponent to win those planets in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
The third planet is by far the most important planet. Giving Davis here the first two planets would do nothing for him, like I mentioned. If you can snag that third planet, Davis's only choice is to win the last two planets, which is not Jeremy's only choice.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. We may have to have a Warlord kill, too.
Yeah, it looks like Jeremy's decided to pass and hold on to those 6 resources. So they're going to be committing their Warlords now. Which
makes sense. And on that second planet there, you also have the battle action to route a target unit. So he may have good units he doesn't want to play that would just get sent packing.
Well, there's not going to be a battle there unless a Warlord goes there.
Sure. You don't think Warlord's going to go there?
I don't know. I've kind of given up guessing at this point. I feel like their thought process is so far beyond my ability to analyze what they're going to do that I can't necessarily see the play. I'm more interested I'm more interested to see what they do, and then it dawned on me why it made sense.
Why it happened?
That. Exactly.
Yeah, and again, I think it is a little game theory here, a little catch-22, where the Warlord goes could make a lot of difference. It really could. Right here. Where do you think they're going? We're about to find out.
I think Jeremy's going to 5.
I think that's a 4.
Is that a 4?
Yeah.
All right.
So he's going with the long-term play, I think.
Yeah.
He's putting some units out on Planet 4. He's going to deny his opponent cards again. He's going to get 2 cards. He's going to stop the Rogue Trader from triggering. He's going to kill the Rogue Trader. And again, I think he's saving resources, and he's playing for the long game.
Yeah. That's... right before I said Planet 5, I was starting to think that he might want to, I kind of deciding that he was going to go for the long play. I thought maybe he'd want to get one of those units out for free from his hand. But I could also see now with his opponent with only 1 resource, he clearly has the advantage there. He doesn't want to give his opponent a free unit.
Absolutely.
He's holding a Land Raider, so that would have been bad. So.
Again, the card and resource disparity here created by that move is massive. Jeremy is loaded going into this next turn. And Davis is, I think, only going to have 6 resources versus Jeremy's gazillion.
Right. So Davis just triggered that battle ability again and grabbed an Exterminatus.
Seems okay.
Although well, the fact that he grabbed it feels like, to me, that he definitely wants to play it, and he's going to have a great opportunity to do just that because he's potentially trade a Void Pirate for all that awesome stuff that Jeremy has on planet.
Well, Void Pirate's going to die.
That's right. Exactly.
It'll be for nothing.
That's right.
His.
Exactly.
But at the same time, the thing about Exterminatus in this scenario, he's only going to have 6 resources. Jeremy's going to have a lot. In deploy, can you spend those resources on Oh, he pulled Exterminatus. Oh, wow, wild.
Wow. Great pull.
That is so good. Oh, your heart has to sink. Oh, that hurts me. Oh, man, that hurts so bad. Now he doesn't have the option, but you know, it reminds me of in Game of Thrones, the most ubiquitous plot is Valar Morghulis, and the penalty for it is that you only get 2 gold and you have no claim. And in a similar vein with the resets in this game, I feel like can you spend that much of your turn in the late game? Sometimes you have to, right? But with the resource disparity here, yeah, you get rid of 2 or 3 units. That's fine, but then you don't play any, which is a problem.
Yeah,
it's a fundamental problem.
Well, you know, given Davis's board, I think he would have been all right because he does have a fair number of units at HQ.
Yeah.
Though, you know, I can't necessarily see all the units as HQ anymore, but Jeremy's starting to get some good stuff on the board, and he'll have even better units when he starts spending all those resources.
Absolutely. So I think there you see Jeremy go for the long-term play, which is something you may not have thought to do, right? He could have easily gone to Planet 3, that super important 3-icon planet, seed his units there. He's dividing his units here. He's going to have strong position for the rest of the game, which, again, is super important because his opponent is going to have to win a lot of these planets to have a chance. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees, right? And I think that is what maybe defines Jeremy and how good he is, which is realizing, oh, these planets don't really matter at all. And instead, focusing on the long term of game. And he still has those units on Planet 1. No
right.
battle didn't happen at what was then Planet 2.
Right. Yeah, and it's going to put him in a position where, you know, if he wins that, he can take the game on the next planet potentially.
Or just load up
load up.
Just deny your opponent the opportunity to win. Man, that Exterminatus pull could be humongous, by the way.
Yeah, that was a great pull. I mean, not you know, I think like you mentioned, it's not like that would have necessarily sealed the game for Davis or anything, but you know, I think just the psychological toll of searching for that card, being like, yes, my Exterminatus, and then having it,
and then he just nails it
immediately. It's just a giant bummer.
So I think Jeremy was spending quite a bit of time there deciding whether to shield that Void Pirate, and he decided not to. He let the unit go, and I'm not sure. It's tough to spend shields on a Void Pirate. It's not the best. It's not the best unit. He's super useful, but it's not the best.
He nets you a card. You know, you kind of like throwing away the card that he got you. I don't know. I think Void Pirates, generally speaking, you need a good reason to keep them around. I think maybe if that Void Pirate with a promotion on it, you might want to keep him just because he has the extra command icons. But yeah, just a straight up vanilla Void Pirate.
All right, well, round and round we go. Drawing 2 cards, getting 4 resources. Now, if Jeremy had Exterminatus here, I'm not sure there's a planet that would really matter to have it on. But having the resources, having the cards, Exterminatus is the kind of card that will seal you the game. But when you're only 1/6 like Davis is, I don't know. I don't know that pull was as big as it maybe felt like. I think Davis has to play guys here.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like it's more of a psychological tax than anything else. And Jeremy out of resource tokens, moving now to the
dice,
the D6 to help keep count. 14 resources. he can do pretty much anything he wants.
Very few units. Oh, he can play all the units.
He can.
Any unit in the game that's legal, he could play. He's got a one-coster. Man, it's going to be brutal, too, because Davis only has so many resources. So Jeremy's just going to get a toy with him and see what he's wanting to do here. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, and that's the difficult thing in the planning phase here when you're facing a pretty deep resource disparity.
Resource and card disparity.
Yeah. Well, knowing that your opponent has so many more resources than you, they're going to be able to see you play everything that you can and then react. And then, there's a bunch of he can hold all his best stuff until after Davis is done deploying his units.
Well, and you also have to fear Exterminatus, right? You play out guys, and then he just destroys them all and plays way more guys at that planet.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he has one in his hand, though.
No, he doesn't. But Davis doesn't know that, right?
Right, exactly.
Looks like he's grabbing some shields.
Yeah, he grabbed an Iron Halo. He might. Yeah, I think he is just probably grabbing that just for the shield.
Yeah. And shields can change the game, right? Like, you may be outgunned by a lot, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's over. I feel like both these players are being extremely thoughtful.
They are. I think. Yeah, I think they're both playing. I think they're both playing very well, honestly.
Absolutely.
I think Davis. We're talking a lot about how awesome Jeremy is, but I think I think Davis is hanging in there. I think he's making the choices he needs to, and he's doing the best with the resources that he has.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, if you're in the finals of the World Championship, you're pretty okay.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right.
Oh man, a zero cost. I love promotion. People give me crap. They think this card is bad. I love it. The limited resources are fine, but a zero cost command struggle winning card that just passes the action to your opponent is brutal.
Yeah, and it also has the benefit of just having a shield icon on it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty significant to have to deal with that now, to know that you're not going to get that one resource that you thought you had in the bank. And like you said, your opponent didn't have to do anything really except put the card in their deck.
And now you have to play another card.
Right.
And with Jeremy with 72 million resources, no planet is in the bank. Jeremy can play a lot of things here.
Yeah.
But.
Well, he really wants that resource though. He puts veteran brother Maxos out there as well.
Well, that's also the planet that could lose you or win you the game. The three icons.
Mm-hmm. But he's got so many units in his HQ. If he sends his warlord there, there's going to be more than enough guys to have that fight, especially against that one little void pirate there.
It's true. But who knows? Jeremy could play 8 guys there right now.
I don't know. I feel like he's just going to sit on it. Something tells me he's just going to sit on all those resources.
I will say,
wait.
Speaking to Davis's skill, last turn before Jeremy just kind of decided to go for the long game, I think Davis had the advantage, and he had Jeremy at a point where he really had to go for it now, or build resources and try to play the long game. And you never know how the long game is going to work out. It's way too complex, way too many decision points to math out completely. But again, Jeremy decided to go the long game, and I think it's really playing to his advantage here.
Yeah.
Here come the units. That alt art is beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I think it's the alt art Blood Angels.
Yep. Jealous.
Is that the World Eater Tournament prize?
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
I think you got one for playing, one for finishing. Something along those lines. Maybe one for winning or one for top cutting. Look at all these units on Jeremy's side of the board. Units for days. And he's got cards for days. And resources for days.
Yep.
He's got days for days. This is going to be brutal. As Conquest should be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I were, if I were in Jeremy's shoes on that previous turn, if I were playing this game, I don't think I would have had the foresight to play it like he played it.
To go for the long game.
Yeah, I think I would have tried to use my card and resource advantages just to hammer on my opponent and just wail on him until all his guys were dead. And I think that's just why I am an average Warhammer Conquest.
And
Warhammer
he's in the
40,000,
finals,
yes, and
yeah.
he's in the final, exactly. It's clearly bearing fruit. I mean, just look at that spread. I mean, look at the guys he's got out on those planets. He's very strong everywhere, and he's still sitting on 11 resources.
Yeah, he's in a good spot. I'll be really curious to see if Davis can he has a ton of shields in his hand, to see if he can pull this off. And if anyone can, I would imagine it's Davis. It's crazy how long this deploy phase is.
I know. Like you said, they're just being really thoughtful, and the fact that this match is untimed really just allows them just to let the game breathe, take your time, and make the optimal play.
Do you know on the planet dial here, does that skull have significance? Is that a certain...
It's a servo skull.
What's that mean?
So
those people at home and maybe even in the booth that don't know what that is.
So I don't know if you're very familiar with Warhammer 40,000 artwork.
Not at all.
In a lot of those art pieces, they have these floating skulls with these tentacles of tubes and wires hanging off them, just kind of flying around. They're like little helper buddies, like little robots that kind of follow you around, except they're imbued with the life force of a human being and with.
Have you happened to play Destiny?
I play Destiny, yeah.
Is it like a ghost?
I don't know. I've never really had the fiction of the ghost explained to me.
Me neither. I just know of it.
They're far creepier, obviously.
Warhammer.
But, we depict them a lot, just kind of hanging out over someone's shoulder, acting almost like a candelabra, even. There's a whole thing in Warhammer 40,000 of the whole idea of the servitor, which is a human and kind of like essentially like a cyborg, essentially. They're humans that have been repurposed and refitted with mechanical parts to serve a very specific function. And the servo skull is like the most primitive version of one of those. Yes. To my knowledge, I'm sure there are probably people in the chat going, that's totally wrong. But to the best of my knowledge, that's how it works. Wow.
Looks like
a full play set of those.
Yeah, it looks like Davis passed, so Jeremy's going to have his run of the board. Yep. He's just, look at the number of units on every planet.
It's very intimidating. And I think here is it puts Davis in a tough spot too, where wherever Jeremy sends his warlord, or where he sends his warlord, there's going to be a battle.
Yep.
Where do you go? There's no easy fight except maybe the 5th planet.
Which, if both warlords go to the 5th planet, it's not an easy fight.
Right.
Battles happen on the 1st planet, and it's really just a matter of where do you want the fireworks to be. We're about to find out. Looks like they both passed. Jeremy's sitting on 5 resources, Davis on 3. Jeremy's looking pretty good at taking all of the planets on the command struggle, maybe not the last.
Yeah, I haven't necessarily counted all those command icons that are out there, but sheer number of cards, it certainly looks like that is the case. Of course, if you send a warlord to a planet where there's not another warlord present, you win that command struggle by default.
Automatically, yep.
So,
I think planet 3 right now, Barless, is potentially going to be really important. It's 2 cards, but the battle ability of discarding a card at random from your opponent's hand could be critical. Discarding a 2 shield, Exterminatus, or something important.
Yeah, and I kind of talked about these planets on the table, and I was really discounting that ability, and I say that pretty much just because whenever I trigger that ability, I get garbage.
Sure.
But you're right. If you get the right pull, it can be very impactful.
Here we go. All right. Looks like Davis is going to 1. Jeremy's going to 2. This is going to be curious. So all those units on Planet 1 are going to be sent home packing.
That's an interesting decision. I felt he had a decent presence there and could have done some work, especially because he has 2 guys with range and doing 4 damage. I don't know if he needed to send all those guys to the first planet.
Sure.
But as has been proven already, these guys are way better at the game than me, so clearly he has a plan in mind.
Unfortunately, we can't. Oh, a 3 shield. Unfortunately, we can't have them also talking about the game.
Have you ever done commentary? Well, yeah, you guys have done commentary out over yourselves before.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And you remember what you were thinking, or maybe not, and you just go with it. Now, again, this is, I think, Jeremy feigning interest in that first planet. Forcing Davis maybe to go there to win the command struggle, but feigning interest. Mobile's going to move a unit there, but feigning interest, and it really doesn't matter. These are the of the planets you could possibly take. This one for Davis, just no relevancy on his side. That's just, again, going back a planet when these next 2 planets didn't matter. If Jeremy gave them to Davis, I think we're just seeing that at work here. Davis committing to planets that don't really matter, Jeremy not.
Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, just having so many cards and so many resources, I think, allows him to do that, to feign interest. Like it's a great luxury.
Well, and to force your opponent to have to go to a planet, right?
Exactly. It's an amazing luxury to be able to be like, I'll just send this guy there. I don't really care enough about it for me. I just want to
not let him have it.
Exactly, or make him go there. Make him have to deal with it. Meanwhile, while you're shoring up this pretty impressive, massive force
on the next 2 planets, they can
across the sector.
Yeah. Getting a little flavor in there.
Yeah. It never really dawned on me to think of it as all these planets are planets in the sector, which is just kind of cool. It looks like he shielded a couple of damage from that first attack.
This is also, I think, another reason to put units at this planet, because a battle's going to happen, and that Davis has units there, is to just get his guys off the board, right? You're that far ahead in resources and units. Just being able to get 2 or 3 of his guys off the board is going to put him at even more of a disadvantage in the next planet or 2.
Looks like he played Drop Pod Assault to bring his area of effect squad into play at that first planet.
That could be brutal.
Yeah, that's...
Oh,
wait. He used Maxos' ability to do that. Yep. So he used Maxos' ability, allows you to bring a Space Marine unit that costs 3 or less into play at that planet. That's exactly what he did. He had the resources to do it. That's not something you want to see.
Not at all.
Especially with all those guys exhausted. It's going to do area of effect 1.
That's pretty good.
That's going to pile up.
And Jeremy's the first player, too, so when they refresh, he's going to get the first swing again with that AoE unit, which is kind of what you want. That could be game-ending, absolutely. Davis has to... I think Davis has to deal with that unit in some manner right now.
I don't know what he can do right now.
What's the... there's your card where if you do damage to something, you just...
Oh, yeah. Fury of Sicarius.
Yeah, there it is. That's the card.
Yep.
I hate that card. Maybe I don't like the Space Marines.
Yeah, so those are Tactical Squad Cardenas is the name of that unit.
AoE 1?
AoE 1. And 1 attack, 3 health.
And so Jeremy's got shields for days.
Yeah, and Jeremy's not going to wipe anyone out with that attack necessarily, but it's gonna go a long way towards doing that very thing.
Well, the thing about it is, again, he's a first player, so when they refresh, he'll get a swing first.
Yeah, so he'll be able to do that twice.
All right. Can't prevent with shields here. Jeremy spent a resource. I'm not sure what on. They also have the card that you pay 1 and prevent all damage.
Yeah,
right?
I think, did he just play an Indomitable? I don't know. I couldn't see.
I just saw him use the resource.
Yes, Indomitable costs 1. So
there's fancy things happening here. We had a tank coming in on second planet, moving the area of effect unit to the second planet. Big play.
Yeah,
I told you he had to deal with that unit, and he did.
Yeah, yeah, in the best way possible, because he wasn't going to be able to do it with damage.
Very impressive. All right. We got a game. We got a game, ladies and gentlemen.
It's back on.
It's back on. I was fearful for Davis there that it was going to end very painfully. Worth noting, Jeremy's first player, but Davis's Warlord is at the first planet.
That's correct.
Which makes it a default to him.
That's right. That's
worth noting. I forget that almost every time. I've lost a lot of games because of that.
Thanks go out to Paul on the chat room for letting us know. Paul's quite good at Conquest as well.
That may be a really good reason to send your Warlord to a planet, by the way.
To gain that initiative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what's happening right now.
I think it looks to me that Jeremy is just considering who to attack.
You think he may try to go for a Warlord snipe here? I feel like I just want to get units off the board if possible.
That's what I would think I would do.
All right. He's exhausted.
Thinking. Very
Lots
carefully.
of thinking. If only we could see the thinking.
We'd probably go blind. Or insane.
You're probably right.
Or both.
Or there'd be nothing happening at all.
It's just blank. It's just flower petals floating through the air in a gentle breeze.
Very vivid picture.
Man, this is a tough shot. There he goes. All right. Going after one of the marksmen.
All right.
I think it's a good call. Get that 4 damage off the board.
No shields. No shields being used there.
I'm curious to see if what Davis has for shields in his hands. He's got plenty. He's got plenty.
He's got a handful of shields.
Yep, he's being very judicious in their use.
Shields are something you certainly don't want to waste. He has a lot of units at this planet. The odds are very much in his favor as far as winning the planet and destroying all of Jeremy's units. So I think both players are kind of being hesitant on dropping those shields. Moving that unit with AoE is so important there. That could have just been game.
Yeah, it was a great play, and even with Jeremy not having initiative on that planet, just the ability to stack up more damage on all those guys, especially when we know that this is going to be a long grinding game. Keeping them as healthy as possible for as long as possible is very important.
Absolutely. And with the number of shields in Jeremy's hand, even not going first, he probably would have been able to hit twice with that unit. I always wish I could see the heart rates of the players. I feel like that unit comes into play and Davis's heart just stops. Oh, man. I need to deal with this immediately.
So Jeremy's just deciding where he wants to put that 4 damage that the Iron Librarian is throwing. And we have the benefit of knowing that Davis has a bunch of shields. It's not all going to go through. And he probably knows that.
He may want to save the shields.
He might.
This isn't really the battle that matters. It's very much in Davis's favor, but he can't have too many casualties here.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why Jeremy's thinking so hard, is that he probably wants to put Davis in a position where he doesn't want to spend his shield.
Or he has to.
Or he has to. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I think if you just want to get rid of some guys, maybe just pick the one that he cares about the least, but it can't be that one. It has to be a unit that he cares a little bit about, but maybe not as much as someone else.
Well, you have to ask what's more important, right? Having the shields for later or having the unit for later. And it's tough. It's a very tough call to make.
It is.
Looks like Jeremy's looking at playing a unit here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to put in his eager recruit potentially.
Does he want it? Oh, he wants it. Spending resources there on it. Interesting. Can you imagine if Jeremy walked away with this planet? What that would look like?
I can't. I'm looking at that setup right now. I don't know what it. I don't see how he does that.
I mean, he has shields, right?
He does.
So he could last a while on this planet.
Wow.
And force Davis to use a lot of his cards and shields, which we'll see.
And Davis let that tactical squad go as well. Which is interesting because he could have prevented it. That was just 2 damage coming at him. He had 2 hit points left, so any shield would have kept him alive. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they are just holding on to those shields for as long as possible.
Yeah. Well, it's also the kind of thing. Could Jeremy have another way of getting an AoE guy onto that planet? Because if he does, you might be in serious trouble.
Well, he's holding a drop pod assault. Does he have 1 resource left? I see 1, 2.
I think he has at least 2.
Yeah, so he has
3.
Yeah, so he has the resources to do it. So, yes.
Yes, he could.
That could definitely happen.
Uh-oh.
It's happening.
It's happening. He's using it. Oh, he's not saving the shields. He's using it. He's going for it.
Yeah.
On a planet that I'm curious about.
Yeah, and he's shaking his head a little bit as he does it.
I don't think he wants to do it. I just think he feels like he has to do it. Oh, he missed. He's not happy.
Yep, nothing. Only unit in there, too expensive, and the other unit is a Tau and is not a valid target of drop pod assault.
Unbelievable. That also could have been game changing. I don't think he wanted to do it. It's 2 resources and 2 shields that are just gone for nothing.
Yeah, he keeps looking at those cards,
hoping that a unit pops out of them.
Almost willing something to appear.
And now they're on the bottom of his deck. Ah, that's brutal. That hurts. Fortunately, this game marches on, and it's not going to be a game-ending mistake, or not a mistake, a game-ending play that didn't work out.
Right.
But still, that's brutal.
Yeah, it's disappointing, too, because one of those cards in there was a Daring Assault Squad, which is a Area of Effect 2. Obviously a very powerful card. Sad to see that go to the bottom.
And Jeremy's still looking pretty good on the next planet. A lot of units there already, not going to have to exhaust to get there. But I think he'd much rather have dealt with several units on this planet.
Yeah, clearly. I think that was definitely his plan. Especially, he put that first Area of Effect unit in there for that very reason. That didn't work out. I don't know if he was maybe hoping to get another one. He's because clearly he has more copies in the deck.
Sure.
Want to just stick with that plan. maybe he should have just abandoned it. In hindsight being what it is.
Is he playing another card here?
It looks like he's thinking about doing that eager recruit.
Here he comes. He's giving it all. He's giving cards. He's giving resources. He's out for this planet.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to force Davis into, because Davis really needs this planet. Davis doesn't need this planet. We talked about this 100 times.
Right. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to remember. They've been at this planet for so long.
Why are we fighting over this planet? I thought we agreed you could have it. All right, he's gonna shield it.
Yeah.
2 damage.
It's like I feel like they're almost in a fight right now that they didn't necessarily want to be fighting, but they're fighting it anyway. So they're just gonna grind it out to the bitter end.
Yeah.
So now the shields are coming out.
coming down.
Yeah, it's like everything feels like it's changed a little bit at this planet where it was just like peaceful little squabble, and it's escalated.
It certainly has. This is crazy. I'm sure someday I'm going to look back at this and see way more than I'm seeing right now. But this planet seems like a lot of fuss over not much.
Well, I mean, we're still in the first battle.
Yeah,
this
isn't even round 2.
This is so like this has to like. There's no getting out of it now.
Yeah, you're in.
But like how much action you see during this first battle, you're right. It seems like a lot over nothing.
Yeah.
And I would not be shocked if Jeremy bailed.
Post round 1.
Yes, and just got the heck out of Dodge.
Yeah, I agree. But still, I mean, staying there, he's going to do, that's 4, right?
Yeah, that's way too much for that marksman to overcome.
Yeah, now Jeremy is removing units here, and I almost wonder if you stay. You have a strong advantage in the next planet, right? You already have guys there, they're not going to exhaust to get there, and you can just keep laying on the pain.
Yeah, and he's got that honored librarian there, so you're at least going to get another 4 off. Yep, he takes off. Yep.
He's out of here. He is out of here. All right. Man.
What a fight.
That's crazy. That's so crazy.
It's like a misunderstanding that grows into a war.
Yeah. We could have been friends. We could have been friends. All right. Looks like Davis
Brother, why are you attacking me?
Davis is going to get a third planet, no matching types. So it's the same thing as if he would have won the next planet.
Right.
But a lot easier if he would have just done that. Crazy. Man, the layout of those planets is so critical to the way this game is flown.
Yeah, man.
Flown.
And then they have to fight here.
Yep.
I mean,
that's where Jeremy sent Kato.
Man, no time, no rest.
Yeah, but this one's a lot easier to work out.
Yeah.
See if Jeremy shields that Void Pirate here. He's got 3 command icons and a card draw on the line for next round. I think that's worth a shield.
You think?
You're pretty much guaranteed another card. Nope, not using it. It's gone. He may have spent his shields too. We'll see. Damage gone.
All right.
Is he going to trigger for each player to put a unit in play? I don't see players trigger this very often, unless you're Chaos and you have a dragon in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I usually do it if.
What's the cost for you? What has to be in your hand for you to trigger that?
Something relatively large needs to be in my hand, like 4+.
Yeah,
I would say. But yeah, in this situation,
I think the board state matters too. Where you have,
exactly. He has enough units. He doesn't need to put another one in there. He doesn't know what his opponent has in his hand. And as we saw, I think he has like a land raider. You don't want something big, unexpectedly coming onto the board.
I'm really impressed here how Davis has managed to, I think, fight his way back. Is that a promotion?
It is.
Everyone from Tulsa is going to get dogged on for how much crap they gave me about promotion. It is in both of these decks. Phenomenal. I'm so happy to see that. I think that card is excellent. 0 cost, going to pass to Jeremy. Now Jeremy's going to have to do something. He doesn't have that many cards in his hand either.
He's got 2 Sicarius chosen, which are great units, but you know all those resources that he had, they're all gone. He has very little left to play with for this planning phase.
But he does have a mass of dudes at home. All right.
Davis's own Honor Brilliant on the last planet. Obviously anticipating that that's going to come down to it.
That's crazy. I hope this goes to 7.
I feel like it's going to. You know, after that last planet, I'm exhausted. Like,
Can you imagine them?
Well,
they've been playing all day.
Yeah, and that's the thing that always amazes me about the guys who play at the final table. Just the endurance test that is a tournament. If you've never played it in a competitive card tournament, it's exhausting.
It sure is.
It's like you get hungry and tired, and your brain ceases to function in the way you'd like it to. And to be able to keep it together through through 8 rounds of play to get to the finals, and then still have enough gas to be on the top of your game to win is
the mark of a champion.
Yeah, it's just really impressive. It's really impressive.
I absolutely agree. I mean, one day is rough. You make the second day, which is the cut, single elimination. Every game is your tournament life is on the line, and you get this far. I mean, it's super impressive and extremely exhausting. I'm very curious to see how this is gonna work out.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think we're getting a treat with this final match.
I agree. I was gonna say North American Championship, but it was actually the World Eater at Gen Con. Jeremy was in that, and he just won all of the first 4 planets. Just brutal game. And this has been way more back and forth. At different points in the game, I thought Davis or Jeremy's had the advantage, and I kind of feel evenly split right now. Jeremy has more units and he's got a lot of units in HQ, so it's going to be really interesting to see how they use their units here.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, I felt, I think maybe it was around Planet 2, I've kind of lost track because these planets have been taking so long to resolve them. I mentioned that I felt that Jeremy had Davis in the palm of his hand, and I feel
back when he had 1 million resources.
Yeah, and I feel like that really turned when he made that drop pot of salt play. Like I think deep down he didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
and
I mean, you don't want to. If you don't have to use it, you don't want to.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he played it and we saw him shaking his head while he was doing it. I think Davis is. I think he's realized that Davis is for real.
Yeah, Davis is the real deal.
Exactly.
And it's tough. It's not something you expect, right? But momentum is a thing in card games, and to have a moment in a game where you go from playing a guy with AOE that could win you the game, your opponent answers it, and then you feel forced to play like your last resort, your final option, and then just to have that totally miss. Not even oh, I didn't get the unit I was looking for, but completely blank, misses it. Just that can deflate you, and I think that's one of the real signs of a phenomenally talented and skilled player, not letting that just totally kill you. A lot of players will get in a game, make a mistake, or have something go wrong, and they're done. But no game is over until the game is completely over.
So Sicarius is chosen coming into play at the second planet. Looks like he's going to pull over the Honored Librarian. I like that play a lot. Honored Librarian hits hard and you can't attack him, but he doesn't have very many hit points. So doing indirect damage to him in that way is the best way to deal with that man.
Yep. And if you have another one, you could move him.
And he does, and I would not be surprised on the next play.
Seeing him move him out to planet 3.
Yep, he'll bring him back and then do another damage, I bet.
You think he'll move him back or send him to planet 3?
You mean send him to the first planet?
Yeah, do you think he'll send him to the first planet or to the third planet?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think
mean,
Jeremy would have to know that Davis probably has a shield in his hand, so
it would be safer to send him packing.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yes, exactly. I would if you want to, essentially, like, I think he knows that he's got it. He's probably has a shield. If he does this, he's probably going to shield it. So it's.
But it's also a matter of where you want that unit, right? So he's doing it. He's going to send him. He's shaking his head there too. I feel like if Jeremy ends up losing this game, he's going to be talking about 2 or 3 moves that he didn't want to do but felt like he had to.
Well,
anyway.
Interesting enough, like what he did here is he pulled away the other unit and did the damage to him. So this puts the Armed Librarian in a tough spot because his whole ability is predicated on the fact that he's there with other units. So
yeah, and again, the most important planet here is going to be Planet 1. It's got three different types, which is going to be phenomenally important. I think that was a really good move on Jeremy's part. Ooh, are they both in 2?
They're both going to 3.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome.
So all this talk about that planet right there with the 3 icons on it, like, that's the one.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That is phenomenal. And maybe both players thought that the other player wouldn't go to Planet 3. They get a card and a resource, and they could kind of clean house a little bit and make sure they could get that last planet.
Yeah.
But that is not what happened at all. I mean, Jeremy even... That is crazy.
I think, Davis really kind of tipped his hand in thinking that he was planning on going for that 5th planet when he played that Armed Librarian there. I don't know if that changed Jeremy's thought process at that point, where he decided that, well, now I'm going to go there because clearly he's not going to try to go for the current 1st planet. But it's shaping up for a gigantic battle at that 5th planet, or an Exterminatus that kills everybody.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
It's fine. The play for Exterminatus is finally open.
Well, they both have a lot of things there, though.
They do. But
who does that benefit more?
Who knows?
Whoever has the last action, I bet you anything. Put the old Void Pirate out there and win the planet.
Right.
So he's going to give Jeremy that planet, that 1st planet, which seems important. Does Jeremy already have a green?
Well, we have the names for the resources on our scoreboard, so it's like technology, materials, and strongholds.
Do you know which colors will go to which ones?
Unfortunately, I should, and I should have. I did a lot of studying.
I imagine red is strength, and green is resources, or materials.
Yeah. Oh. Our scoreboard operator is helping us out. You'd think that's something that I should have learned before I came in here.
Well, I'm really bad. I get caught on this a lot. We do a lot of unboxings and stuff, and I get caught on like calling like technical rules terms where you call
here we go.
There we go. All right, what do we got?
Pardon my interruption. So blue is tech, red is material, and green is strong point.
I would have had no idea that is what that... Red seems very war-y to me. Well, now
I would agree. All right, so now we have the colors in there as well. Hopefully that'll help some of you out there
and
watching on the channel, and us as well.
All right, so Jeremy only has 1 green, 1 strong point. So that green planet doesn't do him any good either.
Nope.
And I think this is really showing off just the long-term thinking of both players, seeing planets that don't matter to their opponents and just giving it to their opponents, not wasting the time or the resources on it.
As just looks like Jeremy's looking through Davis's discard pile. Just 1 Exterminatus in there.
Also, another huge sign of a good player. When you start asking for discard piles, you know you've made it. Can I see your discard pile, please? I need to see exactly how many are in there. Especially right now with such a small card pool. We just have the core set out for the game. It's only been out a month. It's a lot easier to kind of know what your opponent may or may not have, what shields they might have left, what board resets they might have left. So
right,
we'll see.
And I think in this game in particular, since the core set has so many factions in it, I think it's the core set does a really great job of creating a very strong foundation for the game.
But as it should.
Yeah, exactly.
As it should.
And I think it's probably one of our strongest core sets. Honestly, like maybe Netrunner core set also very good.
Yes, very strong.
But in this game in particular, there are a lot of analogs. Analogous cards between factions, so it does make the card pool much more easy to remember.
So it looks like we have a battle at the last planet happening right now, right? That's where we're at.
That's where we're at.
And these two are
They're thinking.
Very cautious battlers. One to simply not walk into battle.
We have an over/under on how many minutes it will take them to complete the battle at this the third planet for this round.
I'm gonna say over 5.
Over 5. I'd take that.
Yeah,
I'd take that.
I have no idea what time it is, so I can't time it. But I'm gonna say over 5. With the number of units on the board, it'll really depend on whether either player retreats, and whoever retreats would be at a strong disadvantage, I think.
Do you think there's anyone in Vegas right now making side bets on this type of thing on this match, watching the stream?
Well, if I were a betting man, I would say no. I would say no. No one's betting on this game. But I'm not a betting man, so I wouldn't know about those things.
Well, we know the hobby has finally made it when they start coming out with lines for these matches in Vegas.
That would be phenomenal. So Jeremy's down to 1 shield card in his hand. That's dangerous territory.
Yes, it definitely is.
Maybe he's got 2. I can't tell.
I think maybe he has 2. Like I said,
I know he has a 2 shield. He's got 2 shield cards.
I think it's interesting that he plays with his hand this way, because I almost always keep my hand
where you can see the cards. Yeah, he really is keeping it tight to the chest here. Got the core box art on that card.
Darren Tan, formerly of Imaginary Friends Studios, did that box art. He's also the man responsible for the deluxe Star Wars expansions.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. All of them.
All of them.
Including those yet to be released. And long awaited.
Everything through Between the Shadows. How about that?
All right, I'll take it. Math. Math is happening.
It is happening.
In a very serious way.
I think, math coupled with the question mark of the shield cards.
That is the major unknown in this game, and I think it would be severely lacking if it didn't have that.
Yeah, and in an earlier incarnation of the game, the shields didn't exist.
Yeah.
And when they entered into the mix, it just made things far more interesting.
Yeah, I think it adds a lot of suspense to the entire battle.
Yeah, I mean, without them, it is just math.
Yeah, it's
right?
literally just math. All right, 2 damage coming here, and we got a shield. Speaking of the devil. All right. And you also have to consider resources here, right? They both have Kato, so when a unit leaves play during a battle where he's at, you get a resource.
Mm-hmm.
Could be important. Shield. Shield, shield. All the shields. Who's going to run out first? We'll see. Hitting for 1.
It's an interesting play to use it on that technician.
Well, it's because it hadn't attacked yet. So he's going to force his opponent to use a shield card.
Yep, those are 2 2-pip shield cards coming out back-to-back for Davis.
And when losing this planet isn't going to cost you the game in this immediate moment, now is when you want to get the shields out of your opponent's hand. If possible. And they both seem to be doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah, and you got to... I am sure that they are both looking at this.
Davis actually has to win the next 2 planets. That's fascinating. Right? Am I wrong?
You're
right.
not. You know, that's true. It is dawning on me right now. It's entirely possible.
Because Davis only has 1 of each, right? So if Jeremy can capture the green, there's no out for Davis.
It's entirely possible that this game could end in a draw. Right? If Davis wins that? No, wait. Because no. Because Jeremy's gonna. If Jeremy wins that one, then if Jeremy wins that first planet, then he'll win the game.
No. He'll have 2 of each.
Yeah. So Jeremy wins that, and then Davis wins the next one. It's a draw.
That is phenomenal.
Can we have co-world champions, or would they play another game?
I wouldn't be the person to ask for that question.
That's a great question.
Man.
I have the rules in front of me.
All right, you look that up.
A draw equals 2 points, but I would seriously doubt we would let the World Championship end in a draw. Co-World champions?
I think we'd be seeing game 2.
Wow. You ready? Ready for the long haul?
Yeah, because I mean, if that's crazy. Yeah, if Jeremy wins the Stronghold planet, Barless, yeah, he's going home. Hey, and I agree. Right? Oh man, you know what? You know what I also agree with?
Here, what's he doing here?
I have no idea.
I'm losing the thread a little bit. I'm not sure quite what he's doing.
Just reorganizing his units? Can you retreat part of your units?
You can.
Well, there you go. You know,
Fascinating. I wonder what Jeremy does for a living.
He's a champion for a living.
All he does is play LCGs.
He eats breakfast like a champion. He then goes to work like a champion. Sits in his room of trophies.
I see him here at the Game Center a lot. He is local to the Twin Cities. For those of you who don't know, so oftentimes when I come on my near daily 3 o'clock coffee break to the Game Center, I'll see him here playing.
That's awesome. I don't know. I'll have to ask him what he does for a living, besides being a champion.
He's here during the day at 3 in the afternoon, so who knows. Maybe he just gets off work early, or maybe
maybe he works nights. Weekends.
Maybe at night he just goes to sleep and they put a plug in his head and he's a computer. I don't know.
Or maybe he bets on himself in Vegas, and that's how he makes all of his money every year. Yeah, this is really fascinating. I'll tell you what another extremely viable card here is, and that's called Exterminatus. If he leaves all of Davis's units on that last planet and he retreats, that could just be, he doesn't have it in hand, but if he can draw it, that could be just game. We'll see. This is extremely crazy to me.
Yeah, and I think, retreating your units in that way, I think, is maybe too obvious.
What do you do about it?
Of a clue, like I think he's still figuring out what he's going to retreat exactly. We're still at that point where he's thinking about this because he keeps moving units back and forth.
I mean, I don't see how Davis wins the green planet.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is I think if he sends the message to Davis here, hey, I'm going to pull some guys back, so don't alarm bells go off in your head saying he has an Exterminatus in hand.
But what do you do about it?
What do you do about it? Do you then yourself retreat a few?
But then you're giving your opponent the advantage. It's
a great mind
horrible.
game. It's a great mind game he's playing right now.
But I think more important than anything is if Jeremy just wins the stronghold there, Barless, Davis has no way to win. Except for maybe Warlord kill, but if the Warlord's not already bloodied, he'll just go home.
Yeah, no, there's no damage on
Cato.
On Jeremy's Cato. Is he still considering his retreat?
think so.
Well, at least for the moment, he's keeping the eager recruit and the Zacharias has chosen. Showing pretty minimal commitment to that planet right now. Again, I don't know if he's... Oh wait, we're getting a little more audio.
What do you have left?
Checking out the discard pile again.
Drop pod.
Realizing Davis still has a drop pod.
Yep. He's trying to consider all angles. Not quite suffering from analysis paralysis, but
I think I have to sacrifice a failure right after any chance of winning. Have to.
approaching it. Yeah, he's just really concerned about what he might have in his hand. Worried about a drop pod assault, as he mentioned. But why he'd be worrying about that card in particular, you know, clearly he has something in mind that would be foiled by that, or who knows. Again, I think this is just coming into him thinking about this planet and this battle here, just deciding the battle when it finally gets to this planet.
When
we can actually claim it. I think he's viewing this as like he's got to make the right play here
to be able to have a chance
to make
of
sure
winning later.
Yeah, exactly, to make sure that he grabs it later on.
All right, so everything's going except for those 2 units.
Yes.
All right, fighting again. Did an area effect.
And he does get rid of the unit I think he was most concerned about. All right. I think I was right on the over-under, just so we're aware. Am I right?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And he moved that out of the librarian there, using the battle ability of that planet. So, Jeremy hoped to top deck an Exterminatus. He hasn't seen any yet.
Yeah.
So I gotta think he probably thinks his odds of drawing one are probably pretty good.
Let's see if he gets it. It's a deploy phase action. Did not.
No.
Nope. Not happening.
Yep. So that effectively ends the Exterminatus threat for this game.
Yep, because it can't be triggered on the first planet, and it's deploy action only. So after this round, there will only be the first planet.
Man, what a match! If this goes to a draw, it would. I still think it's probably one of the best draws I've ever seen.
Sure. I mean, like we were saying earlier, it's gone back and forth, back and forth. At basically every deployed phase and planet, I felt like someone else has the advantage.
Yep. So looking at Jeremy's deck list, he does not have Exterminatus in the list.
So he couldn't have even drawn it if he wanted
Nope.
to.
That would have been something.
That's crazy.
He probably wishes he had it.
A lot of people talk
now.
A lot of people talk about the board resets like they are the jam, and he's not even running them. So I think there's maybe some misvaluations of cards happening in this core set by everybody except Jeremy.
Well, you know, like I said, I'm sure I mean, obviously he's done well with that. He's not lost in the tournament yet. So clearly he has not needed it. But I bet he would have really liked to have one right there.
Yep. Also, we're seeing all of his Space Marine units right there. avoiding the drop pod, apparently.
This game's going pretty long. He's actually doing a good job of working through his deck.
So Davis has a lot of resources, but he's only got 3 cards right now. And it doesn't look like does he have any shields left? Is that maybe 1 shield in the middle?
I don't believe so.
That's important. Jeremy also looks to be out of shields. So the card draw here off of the planets is going to be pretty important. I don't think Davis is going to want to commit at all to that first planet, so that may be huge in Jeremy's favor. Not for the planet, but only for the cards.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wins that battle, he's going to get a discarded card at random from Davis's hand.
Obviously, that's when it's best. Got 1 card left.
Yeah.
Looking through his own discard pile now.
So Jeremy is the first player here. And if he sends his Warlord to Planet 2, he's going to get the first strike. But do you even do that?
Okay, so we got a clarification on the rules. So whoever wins the 7th planet wins no matter what, regardless of icons.
So there are no draws when it comes to Conquest. I had no idea. I've never made it that far. I've never made it to the 7th planet.
I've never been in that position.
Yeah. So this is looking phenomenal for Davis, in my opinion. He's low on cards, but he's got all of his guys ready at the last planet.
Yep, and he'll have the initiative. It's very important.
Next turn.
Next turn, yeah, when it matters. When you get to that planet, he'll have the initiative. With all those ready guys, it'll certainly put him at a great advantage.
This has been a brutal game, and I'm very impressed with what Davis has been able to do here. I thought a couple planets back he was out, and right before that I thought Jeremy was out. So I guess as a testament to how good these players are at staying alive. All right, is Jeremy going to go to 1 or 2? You think he just goes to 2 and gets it over?
I think he's got to go to 2, so he makes sure that his guys are ready when the battle happens.
Well, if he goes to 2, battle is happening.
That's right, a battle is happening. I mean, when the actual battle happens.
Yeah,
battle
but are you going to have any guys left when that happens?
We'll find out. But yeah, I think you go to 2. I would
go for it.
I would go to 2. Yeah.
We'll see. Well, here we go. Looks like he is going to 2.
They both do.
It's time for the dance.
Oh, wait, no. Looks like Davis went for 1, which I think is the right move.
Yeah, it's going to deny cards to Jeremy.
Yeah, it's
Jeremy had to go to Planet 2.
Yeah.
Didn't have to, but more than likely was going to.
Yeah, and Davis getting those 2 cards, very significant when there is no card draw left.
Yeah, and it's also worth noting that Jeremy's going to get a resource and a card from winning the 2nd planet because he has a Warlord there. But not having your Warlord on that 2nd planet as Davis means that you also won't get blooded and then subsequently lose to Warlord dying instead of the planets, which you're in a strong position to win the last planet. So that's probably a much safer move.
Yeah, and when it comes time to do battle at that first planet, I fully expect him to retreat.
Yeah, head it home. There's no reason to risk the game like that. You lose the king, you die. So just don't do it.
Yeah, the only reason not to do it is if, for some reason, he's going to fight. He's going to fight. I was going to say, the only reason not to do it is to not get that card discarded from your hand. So, he went there to get the cards, clearly he wants to hold on to them. So
yeah,
he's
and I mean,
hang out and fight.
if he can get rid of those units of Jeremy's not going to want to invest in that, right? Because he has to win that next planet.
Right.
Yeah, this is interesting. He looks like he's going to drop a shield. I guess
those shields are at a premium at this point as well.
Yeah. And if you lose the planet, you're going to lose a card anyway, so sometimes it's better just to go ahead and play the card. All right, so he's going after Kato here.
Well, he just did the area effect.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
This is tough because it's gonna put Davis in a position where if he doesn't want to bloody his Sicarius, he's gonna have to blow shields in this battle.
Yep. And he can always go home after the first round.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what Jeremy's contemplating right now, whether or not to shield the Sicarius is chosen. You know what? It's not a. I guess unless he feels like he can potentially defeat him and win by Warlord victory at the next planet, he might not care about blooding him.
Sure. You know, I don't know. This last planet's going to be intense. All right, he's going to shield it. All the damage. Here we go.
Yep. So I think he's just going to probably hold on to that. I think Davis had one more shield in his hand. Yep,
there it is.
Goes. So almost bloody, but not quite.
That still could be important for sending the Warlord home in the next round. And, you know, looking at just how many units Jeremy has on that last planet here, he actually may be at an advantage to take it. Like, this battle is the battle.
Yeah, he clearly has the unit advantage. Loses Sicarius chosen.
Now, so this is what's really fascinating about the game, right? So Davis sets up, gets his guys there early, but AoE 1,
yeah,
3
boom.
guys gone.
All right.
4 guys gone.
Yep.
But Davis is going to get a hit with his guys that were there. They're gonna stand, assuming they stay. But this is looking phenomenal for Jeremy right now.
He turned that around really quick.
Brutal. It didn't look like that at all. I feel like Davis had that last planet, and then no, turns out not.
Yeah, I mean, and that, like you were saying, what feels like a very long time ago. Area of effect.
Yep. That was today.
Incredible keyword.
Probably the keyword in the game at the moment.
Yeah, and right there you see why. Especially when it is a value higher than 1, and you know, at late in the game when you're out of shields,
out of tactical ways of doing something about it.
It's particularly powerful.
All right, Altart card number 1 off the table. This is brutal.
Yep. And you know, like looking back on it now, it's just like it's so obvious. Jeremy had it. He clearly had it.
So obvious, yeah.
Right. Which is, I think, you know, clearly why he is sitting there and we are sitting here.
Correct. Yeah. Again, this game is super new, right? We're within a month, so massive. I guess for me, mental evaluation of the board state. Jeremy is looking real good right now. Obviously. Yeah,
it's done, really.
Well, I won't say that quite yet, but I feel like Jeremy's in a good position to win.
I think, you know, in a place where you are just going to be getting 2 cards, 4 resources, and then looking at all the units there that Jeremy has in play, there's nothing that Davis can play to turn that planet around.
There's no out.
There is no out.
Ugh.
Like his only hope is killing Jeremy's Warlord at this point.
Which is impossible.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean he's not bloodied, so once he gets bloodied, he goes home, right?
That's right. It is not possible. You're right. So as soon as he gets bloodied, he'll go back to HQ.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, last turn. It comes down to this. There are no draws. Planet 7 is the finale, and Jeremy has destroyed Davis's board.
It looked so good.
It is,
and now it's all gone.
It is wild.
Man.
I don't know. My mind is blown right now. This game.
My mind is too, because I feel like everything. Like,
was that not super deceptive at what that looked like?
I agree with
Game over. Yep. Jeremy Zwirn,
right.
world champion. Two world championships, same weekend. Bizarre. What a champion. Congratulations. Congratulations to Davis for making it as well, but that is insane. So well played.
Yeah. Well played by both
Man,
players.
I've never seen a Conquest game like that. That is crazy.
Yeah, it's just one more championship for Jeremy to add to his gigantic list of championships.
That's just it. This is core set only. That's what I'm so impressed by. There's phenomenal plays happening here. Lots of big moves. Lots of swings and who's in ahead. What a great showing for the first World Championship for this game.
Agreed.
So crazy. Again, congrats to Davis and Jeremy for making it this far, for dealing with the grueling schedule, and for being at the top of the game at the moment.
Yeah, it's really impressive, and just again to reiterate, Jeremy earlier this week, just a couple days ago, won the Cthulhu World Championship. He won the Cthulhu World Championship last year.
The year before that, he won the Netrunner World Championship.
Exactly, and that year he also won the Invasion World Championship. He's a machine.
He's a champion.
Machine. Yeah, I think if I wonder, I get a great shot of Ryan Thompson's face.
Worth noting there to the right, Eric Lang, designer of
right.
Conquest LCG.
Yeah.
Insane. Wow, what a game. What a game.
Yeah, it's. I feel like this match has opened my mind considerably about how this game is played, or how it can be played. It's certainly something to aspire to.
It can be played very well, apparently.
Yeah,
very, very well. Well beyond what I'm capable of at the moment.
Exactly. I've been playing this game quite a bit since it came out, and I've not experienced. I've experienced a few matches that have gone to the 7th planet. But nothing quite like that, where there were so many twists and turns throughout the course of the match,
sure.
Where you weren't necessarily, or where I really felt like, as we were talking about, like the momentum was passing back and forth
the whole game
throughout the course of the match. And
absolutely.
And I think in the games that I played that have gone to the 7th planet, it still felt like the player who eventually ended up winning was more or less in
going
control
to win
throughout the course.
Well, I mean, what was I think deceiving there is until the moment where Jeremy's AoE hit and Davis's board just kind of disappeared.
Right.
I still thought Davis was somewhat in the lead, if not on equal footing, but not at all.
Yeah.
Jeremy, in that case, unless Davis had some magical card, was way out in front.
Yeah, and I think I think when you talk about like how we were kind of deceived by the look of the board at that point, I think probably what we obviously just failed to notice was the low hit points
of all of
Davis's stuff, and as soon as he put that Daring Assault Squad into play at that planet, that kind of spelled their doom.
Sure.
And it's just something that I just didn't notice until it happened.
Yeah. Well, and I think the two, like thinking back on the game, I think the two key moments there were Davis moving the AoE unit, giving him some extra life, and Jeremy deciding to go for the long game when he moved all the things out to like Planet 4 and just got all the cards and all the resources. And that's what let him build into this massive force to just take the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. So, very impressive.
Yeah, very well played. Very well played by the first annual world champion of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest.
Jeremy Zwirn.
Jeremy Zwirn.
He's the man.
Yeah, great performance. I look forward to seeing him next year and seeing what he does, especially as the card pool grows. A lot more cards will come out between now and then. And
that's the goal, right?
Yeah. That's the plan.
Don't promise
no promises.
That. Don't promise that. We could all get in trouble for that.
The first war pack was here during World Championship Weekend, so that at least bodes well for the first cycle.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's very true. So I'm also excited to see it. I imagine we see Jeremy here making the cut. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
see.
also curious to see what does the winner get to design a card for Conquest?
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what he comes up with for
Yeah.
this game. I'm sure it'll be some sweet Space Marine.
Right. If anyone plays Netrunner, Jeremy designed Architect, which is a really awesome piece of ice.
It's insane.
Yeah, and
it cost me 2 games earlier. Today, that card cost me 2 games.
You can go out there after we're done and let them know.
Don't make a card like that for Conquest. Oh man, brutal.
So thank you everyone for joining us and sticking around after X-Wing to watch Conquest. We're going to go to an interview with Jeremy, and we'll be back tomorrow with the single elimination, the double elimination round for Netrunner.
Yeah,
and that'll be wall-to-wall Netrunner. It'll be awesome. So thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Zach, for coming in. And
of course, had a great time.
And we'll go right now. We'll go to Jeremy, and good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys.
We are live here with Jeremy Zwirn and Eric Lang. Jeremy Zwirn is here again after winning Call of Cthulhu and is here for Warhammer Conquest, where he has won his 2nd World Championship of this World Championship weekend. Jeremy, what was your biggest surprise in the top 16?
Winning.
So what did you think of the field overall? Did you feel like it was a good mix, or did you feel like you were intimidated by anything in particular?
Nothing in particular. I was playing Space Marines. I feel I don't have a bad matchup against anything. It's just very consistent and solid all around. That's how it really played out. It was a good field overall, fairly diverse. There's quite a few Space Marines, quite a few Dark Elder, but beyond that, it was pretty split. So feeling good.
Wonderful, wonderful. What do you think was the turning point in the last match?
I really don't know. There's too many of them, I think.
I agree. I think the game went back and forth many times, but you both played spectacularly. Eric, do you have anything to add?
Jeremy, you're awesome. How does it feel, by the way, to win your 5th World Championship? Your 5th.
Amazing. I'm speechless. I'm kind of in a state of disbelief still. I don't know what to say. Sorry.
Well, I believe it.
Can I give a shout out?
Sure, you can give a shout out.
I'd like to give a shout out to Matt R. for being my hype man. Thanks, buddy.
Well, Jeremy, we're all just ecstatic to have you here with us today and have you be a competitor here. And here's your trophy. Congratulations, sir. And an exclusive playmat. I think I am extremely jealous. I want one of these.